guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Nerds and Jesus podcast. Welcome, my name is Mary Howell. I'm a Christian and a worship leader who happens to also be a huge nerd according to myself, all my friends, family, and coworkers. And recently I've been wanting to discuss how Christian nerds are to navigate living in the secular world, how we are to be a light in the darkness while also nerding out on all types of fandoms pop culture has to offer. Today we will be answering the question, what happens to our brains when we become obsessed with a fandom? Is obsession the right word? But I am not on this podcast alone, as I am joined this week by a pastor who is not exactly a major nerd, but is surrounded by those who are nerds and happens to also be my boss, Joe Thompson. We are also joined by a huge nerd and also related to Joe Thompson, Micah Thompson. Joe and Micah, how's it going?
It's going great, Mary. It's
going
good
well.
to be here.
So before we'll do some introductions, stuff like that, for each of both of y'all, how long have y'all been a Christian? Or if you want to share a little bit about your story, your elevator, I guess, pitch of your testimony.
30-second or the minute and a half.
Probably the 20-second.
The 20-second. I was saved whenever I was 6. That wasn't real. It was fake. I lied to everybody that I got saved because I wanted to drink juice and bread. I wanted to eat all that stuff. I wanted to be like everyone else. I had an actual coming to faith, realizing who God was whenever I was a sophomore in high school. And that was, 10 years ago. So there you go.
So I grew up in a Christian home. I'm Joe, by the way. That was Micah. I grew up in a Christian home and went to church, but had a lot of wrong motives, a lot of wrong ideas about myself and about the world and about everyone else. It wasn't until I was a teenager someone invited me to a little different church, and someone shared the gospel. A lot of people did. Eventually, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and I gave my heart to Christ. I was about 16, and things changed. Everything changed, and so life's been good. It's been more than 20 years. It's been more than 30 years. It's been almost 40 years, but it's been good. God's been really good, and done a lot of things, and tried a lot of things, and been obsessed with a lot of things.
Yeah. And so for those of y'all listening, I don't know if we said this, Micah is son of Joe.
Yes, I am Joe's son.
I almost want to say like son of Joe, but son of Joe.
Yeah, he's not Tom's son. He's Joe's son.
I am Joe's son.
Sweet. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing. And also obviously part of this podcast is, the other side is your nerd side. But how big of a nerd are you? And if you can choose your top fandom or games that is your niche, what would that be?
Wow. So for me, I can't play video games. Well, I can, but I don't. And we'll talk about that. So if there's games that I can play, it has to be board games. And strategic board games are my favorite, where you can actually apply your thoughts and organize your thoughts, and you have a chance of winning based on your ability, not as much on luck. So that's where I tend to focus. So I like those kinds of games.
Nice. Any fandoms?
I don't water to mouth over anything. I love Marvel. I just love it. But I'm not the guy that got into the comic books. But when the movies came out, I've been to every movie that Marvel has put out, and I've bought every movie. I keep them all, and about once a year I watch them all. And try to watch them in chronological order, because that's the way it should be. I have all of them digital, and I can watch them anywhere at any time. And there have been times when I downloaded all of them to my phone just in case I couldn't get a signal and I could still watch them. So I've deleted them, and I'm trying to not be that far. I'm trying to have a little more control.
Nice. Very cool. How about you, Micah?
Yeah, me. Let's see. I'm all over the place with the nerd stuff. I was telling Mary earlier that I am just a nerd all the way across the board. I do D&D, anime, all the stuff. Built my own PC. My biggest nerd thing is I've been playing Rocket League, the video game, since it came out. And if I've been obsessed with Rocket League, I've been addicted to Rocket League. But now I play it for fun, and I'm casual with it. But my fandom, Tolkien, all the Tolkien stuff. I'm deep in it. I've read most of the books at this point.
Then when you go back and listen to episode 1, I admit to the world that I've never read the Lord of the Rings series. And my nerd card should have been revoked like a long time ago, but I have the books now, and I plan to read them on the podcast and go for each chapter, and then have a guest who knows the Tolkien books be on it, and we can talk about it for those who haven't read the books yet. So
I love the books. I don't think you have to watch them. I mean, read, I'm sorry. Yeah, you do have to watch the movies. I think if you're a nerd, you need to watch the movies. You need to watch the extended editions because they're better.
Yeah.
I watch them twice a year.
Well, I know, at the time of recording this episode, it's technically only 2 days or 2 to 3 days after I recorded the first episode, but it will release between a week. But last week, they announced that the Lord of the Rings Return of the King is coming back to theaters for the 20th anniversary.
What?
And it will be 240 minutes long, and it will be only at Regal and Cinemark theaters.
I will be there. I will take off work to be able to be there.
We have a Regal here.
There's a Regal here.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
It's been really cool to... I haven't recorded many of these yet, but just been having conversations with those who will be on the pod of like what everyone's... like what their fandom and what their niche is. It's so different, but there's one like overall theme is, you know, how obsessed everyone's always been over these fandoms. And so obviously since we're recording close to episode 1 at the time of recording this, I plan to record the news of the week later in this week. But when you're reading this episode, why did I say reading this episode?
Because I did the watching for reading earlier.
That's not right. Listening to this episode, we will do the news of the week at the end of this episode, and I'll do that separately. Anyway, a lot of the question, you know, we're asking ourselves today is what happens to our brains when we become obsessed with the fandom? Is obsession the right word? And so first off, have y'all ever been obsessed with one thing or fandom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
As we both admitted.
Yes.
In our intros, yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I hate to admit that. Yeah, Micah said something interesting, though. You can become obsessed, but you can also become addicted. And I'm not sure it's the exact same thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What is the right word?
Yeah. I like the second question. I think I want to answer the second question first. Whenever I was thinking about it and I saw it, I was like, I think obsession can be the right word. I think addiction is where the issue comes in.
Yeah.
I think you can be obsessed and it be okay as long as you're able. I think the line that you cross is whenever that obsession becomes like you have to have it and you're skipping important things for it. That becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, you know, obsession seems more like when you're obsessed about something, it's all you think about, it's all you talk about. Your whole world kind of becomes that, and everyone around you knows it because you're obsessed. And so they see you, they hear you, and it's hard for them to have a conversation about anything except what you're obsessed about. Mm-hmm. Now, addictions we can hide. So you may have an addiction that other people don't know about. So, so I would say probably I've had way fewer addictions than obsessions where, everyone knew that that's what my conversation became and that's what my life became. And all my effort came, especially when it comes to gaming, was how do I find out more about this game? Where do I find the secrets? And how can I find the time to continue playing the game? So usually that is at the expense of sleep, and other things too, but mostly sleep.
Yeah, I've been addicted to like a lot of different fandoms. I wouldn't say games for me, but that was just a lot of part of like my past growing up is that I would just put everything into I'm thinking like I'm going back all the way to high school from like, you know, Harry Potter to Twilight to Twilight. Yes, Twilight. I was obsessed with that and addicted to like reading the books and just finding every information I can about every little thing I'd get excited over, especially like any hobby as well. That'd be just something that I'm just like full in it for like a long time. And so that's why I was so hesitant to always even like start the podcast. Cause like I bought this mic 2.5 years ago when I was like on a whim, like, you know, I'm just going to start it. I'm like, no, I'm just going to, when the timing's right, like, let me keep thinking about it. And it's always been there. So I was like, all right, let's just do it. But, it's a dangerous slope to be on, especially because I noticed even for me, like I found myself wanting to, you know, be involved in every fandom or just only focus on that and not really, you know, spending the time in the Word or spending time with the Lord. And, you know, today's standards, not exactly nerd stuff, but we have like social media and TikTok that people become addicted to and it's hard to break from. What are some stories? I know, Joe, we have talked about this. Yeah, about your video game story.
Which video game?
Well, you know what? There was one, Crimson Skies.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst ones where it was a a game with these World War II airplanes, and you had to go in, and it was all with a controller, which I had no control over the controller. Like, I'd not known the controller. I'm not a game guy. So they were playing this game. Hey, let me try. Hey, Dad, come play this. And I sit down and play. And I learned just enough basic moves to be able to fly this airplane and shoot it. And so over time, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time and went to the next level. So I learned more. And finally, it just kind of set in like, I can play this game until I beat it. And so I did. I just played nonstop. Everyone in my house knew that it was a problem. I didn't do anything else. Nothing else but play this game. And so I've been playing for 3 days almost straight, except taking very short naps and going to work and doing what I had to do so I could get back home and play this game. And so then my oldest son comes in to play. He goes, oh, let me play against you, because I've been playing against the computer and I've gotten pretty deep into this game. I'm like, yeah, come on. He's played it once, maybe twice. And I've been playing nonstop for 70 hours. And he comes in and he whips me pretty quick. Just, shoots me out of the sky, just destroys me on the first screen. And I'm asking him, how do you do that? How do you do that? And because he's doing these barrel rolls and he's doing all these amazing things. And so he's trying to teach me more. And all I want to do is learn more. And it was one of those games where it had a lot of secret treasures. So after I beat the game, I went back and I wanted to beat it 100% completely. And it just absorbed my entire life. And almost every game I play that you can have to beat a computer, or you can beat the computer, I obsess, and I can't do it. I've done it. I did it many years ago with a game called 007, and it was on a retreat. We were literally, I was the youth pastor. We had teenagers, we had kids, and they brought a gaming system, and they invited me to sit down and play like the first night. And they let me keep a controller. And so I just didn't sleep that night. The next morning we went to a little conference, and then we had free time. So I went back to the room and I kept on playing. And I spent a whole youth conference in a room playing 007. And by the end of the conference, I beat the game. But I get addicted. And I guess really that's more like obsession. And I realize that. For me, I think obsession can be temporary, whereas addiction is something to break free. I think you can get addicted to anything, a book series or games or anything that you can continue to play. So for me, it's more like an obsession, but it's all consuming. And it takes, I will lay down every responsibility. So I don't do those things anymore. I just can't. I love to watch people play games, but I can't play games.
Which is the reason it's been so hard to get him on a one shot for D&D.
Yeah. He won't play D&D, and I've tried to tell him that's not one that you can
get obsessed with.
Yeah, because you have to have other people,
and if no one else can make it,
yeah,
that's
the issue, because he'll just play games by himself. Yeah,
you can see me going around begging strangers, "Hey, do you play D&D? Please play D&D with me."
He
walking
might
down the
into
street.
that. It wouldn't surprise me.
Can I talk to you for a second?
I could see me being a D
in your life.
I'll be a DM and just begging anybody online.
He has like a trench coat of dice. It's
I can see that. I can see it.
Let me show you all the different dice that I have here.
I didn't think that you would talk about those two things. I thought you were going to talk about another game that we were both obsessed with, Ingress.
Oh.
It was the precursor to Pokemon Go.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's where Pokemon Go was built from this game that we played.
I did not know that.
It's an augmented reality game.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals where you have to get in your car and you have to travel. And then you go places and you can walk. But again, Pokemon Go was based off of the structure and the foundation of Ingress. So all the, what do they call them, gyms in Pokemon Go? The gyms and all those sites were based off of portals in this other game called Ingress. Micah was playing it. So talk about how you were playing.
I was playing with some of my friends. I just turned 16, was able to drive. I saw an ad for this random game, and the ad made it look awesome. I had no idea how to play. It didn't have any tutorial or anything. It was just go play. So I started playing, got some of my friends to play with me, and we were having a great time. There was a global chat or an area chat where you could talk to other people in the area. This guy started messaging us and freaking us out because
there were two teams.
Yeah, there's two teams. They were facing off against each other. He was on the other team, but he was he would know where we were. And he messaged us one night and was like, hey, I dropped some items off in front of your house.
Oh, no.
Freaked us out. And it was like really powerful items that we could not get yet because we weren't a high enough level. So we go outside and there it is. And we're like, who is this? Who is this person?
You just like find your address somewhere?
Yeah. Freaked us out. It was me and like 4 friends and we were scared. Me, one of my brothers, and two of our other friends, just terrified. And come to find out, it was my dad who had heard about us playing, started to play it to scare us. Then we switched sides, joined his team, and we all became obsessed. So much so.
No, that might have been an addiction.
That was an addiction. Because it was a hidden thing. We had to hide it.
I don't think this lasted for a few days or weeks. This was
most of my high school, like from the time I was a sophomore in high school till I graduated. We were playing this game, and we were hiding it from people because we didn't want them to know that we were driving.
And that's what you do with an addiction.
Every night. Every single night of the week on school nights, my dad would give me and
I was
one of my
included
friends.
in that. We did this for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys both went?
Well, no. He couldn't go because my mom, they stayed in the same room. I was out all the time.
Does she know the story?
If she listens to this, she's going to hear parts of the story she didn't know.
She knew that I was gone all the time playing this game. She didn't know that my dad was the one funding. He would give me like $20 for the next 2 nights to get gas in her car, in my mom's car, and drive like an hour and a half away to go do missions in the game.
And
he wanted to do, but he couldn't.
So I was playing the game every minute that I could, and then sometimes at night I would still play, and I would play anytime I could. It involved a lot of driving. Some days I would drive 300 miles just to play this game. And so I got known locally, obviously, but then statewide and then nationally, I became kind of a national player.
What?
And got connected with some international players. And because it is, you have 2 teams, and the team that I was on, it was about world domination. So the game grew to be around the world. There's 1 million people playing at one time around the world, and you're trying to save the world, capture the world. And to do that, you have to link different portals together. So I got involved with some national teams where we were trying to run links all across the country.
Across the oceans.
And across the oceans. And so to say that, and it was addiction because I was trying to hide that. So it wasn't so much an obsession. And eventually I got called out on it by everyone. Because I was the one that kept on.
Including me.
Yeah.
I called him out.
So
wait, so Micah, you already had finished playing the game and he continued?
I stopped playing it because I had a girlfriend at the time that called me out on it. And then I saw how bad it was because we were on a mission trip. And the mission trip became more about this game than it did about the mission trip.
I have to admit it, that was true.
And it wasn't just him. It was all of us.
Oh, everybody. We were all working to try to make the game work, to make the missions work. And we were on a mission trip. Now, we did good things on the mission trip, but we lost opportunities because of this. And so I got called out by my kids, by my wife, and by some others. And I pushed back as long as I could until finally it's like, oh, man, this is right. So I deleted it. And I left it turned off for about 6 months. And I opened it back up. I played a little bit. And then I just no longer interested. And so every once in a while, still someone will send me a message saying, hey, can you do this for us? Can you do that? And if I can, I will. But I say no almost always because I don't have any interest in it anymore. And I know that, if I did, I would get addicted. So I have to fight that. So that's why I don't do things. I don't play games. I don't lock into anything like that. Only board games. And I get over competitive in those things.
Micah's shaking his head, agreeing.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut him off, but yes, absolutely. But we're competitive by nature anyways, but he does get more competitive than the rest of us. I'm
the guy when we're playing board games and there's 6 people, 8 people sitting around the table. Everyone's having a good time talking. And I'm the guy that's like, it's your turn. It's your turn. It's your turn. And I'm the guy that's rushing everyone around so I can have my turn because we're playing a game and this is a competition. I need to be focused. And if we're not, and I don't want to have to explain this game to you every time it goes around because you weren't paying attention. Sometimes I totally miss the joy of everyone being together because I become obsessed with the game. And I'm the guy that reads all the rules and I'm that guy.
We have a group of friends that we play games probably like once a month. for like years now. Like it's the same group of people too. There's always that one person who's trying to read the rules and no one else is like paying attention.
Yeah, I can be that guy. And I fight that. So I don't want to be that guy. I went to Utah and spent some time with my family a couple weeks ago, and we played games, and I tried to not be that guy. I just tried to enjoy the game. And it's so much more fun to do that. But I recognize it now. I know it's real. And I don't know what it is in my brain. I think one of the things like what happens.
Yeah. So why do we get obsessed or addicted, And
I don't know. I think it's control. I do. I think that there's that desire in us to be in control, to have control, to know that we have power over something, especially when our lives maybe, a lot of times seems like we don't have control because life's kind of chaotic. Things happen that we can't control. And games, if all I have to do, if I can study it and learn it and know it, I can win. You can remove variables because it fits a certain way. There are guidelines and rules. We have rules in life. We might call them laws and we may call them commands that we try to follow, but there's so many variables. Yeah, so in life, we can be out of control and, just live it and let it go. And I live life extremely well knowing that. But for some reason, when it comes to games, I can't embrace that and just enjoy sometimes. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not sure what the real answer is.
I liked your answer.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because I feel like you just called me a control freak. Thanks.
Yeah, no, but I agree. Like, I'm the same way. I play games because I want to be better than other people, and I want to be able to tell them that I'm better. It's totally a pride thing.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a pride thing. I want to be able to say, like, I'm better than you at this, and it's because I've put in the hours, and I care about it, and then I become obsessed because I want to be better than everyone else.
Well, now I'm kind of embarrassed.
Why?
Just kind of a shameful thing, isn't it?
It is. It's not like a fun thing.
But it's so relatable because there's so many of us who get obsessed or addicted to like fandoms or especially whenever Marvel got up to Endgame, like that whole Marvel, like, a couple phases, like I don't know how many times that people get obsessed, addicted to it, but it's not just like there's people who can just watch the movie like, oh, that was a great movie and then just like go on with their lives. But then there's me who like, oh, that's a great movie. Let's dive deeper, and let's go to the comics. Hey, I should dress up. I should go to a Comic-Con convention. Like I should go to Dragon Con and dress up as this character. And then you become, I become obsessed with like getting that outfit on or whatever and getting that set up and meeting the celebrities who play these roles and getting obsessed with them. That was just like how my brain goes. I'm like, wait, I get to meet all of these like celebrities. Are you what, And
I think too, though, when you talk about like Comic-Con, I think there's a desire for us we want to be with like-minded people too.
Yeah.
So instead of people that push back against some of our oddities, just being around people that will embrace it and say, I love the way you are. I love what you're doing.
And it's so much fun. And I know we're going to probably talk about that in future episodes because I think there's an episode that we're going to be talking about like specifically Comic-Con conventions. And I'm going to Comic-Con San Diego this year. I got tickets. So I have not thought about my outfit or what I'm wearing, which is great because right now I've been like, what am I going to do? What am I going to wear? But I think it's like this like borderline I think we have to have of, going to these conventions because it is fun to be with people who like also love the same things you do. But I think, I don't know, there has to be a line somewhere.
Right at the start of 2020, I paid $200 to go to a live video game championship. I was going to go watch people play Rocket League, a digital video game. They were going to sit on stage, look at their computers, and I was going to watch the same thing that everyone else at home was watching. But I got to be around all the people that liked it too. Because I don't have, none of my family likes that game. Like, none of my family plays video games like I do. And I care about video games.
Now, I watch you play Rocket League.
Yeah, he does. And my family has sat and watched professional Rocket League with me and been like, wow, that is very interesting. It's disingenuous, but they're saying it because they love me. And I appreciate that.
Okay, now, there was this time I walked in and you and like 4 other guys are literally sitting there watching anime. And I'm like, when do they stop playing volleyball? And he's like, no, Dad, that's what this is. I'm like, are you telling me that this is volleyball anime and this is what you're watching? This is all this.
Oh, and I was obsessed with that. I binged that. It was a 4-season anime that each episode was like 25 minutes and
then they played volleyball.
Yeah.
Anime volleyball.
I think anime is just something that goes over my head. So
I grew up with it.
I could not patronize on that one. Sorry. I tried. I was like, ugh.
You haven't been to an anime convention?
Well, anime is one thing. I sat and watched some anime with them in the past, and it's all kind of glitchy looking to me, and there's it doesn't flow.
All the anime nerds on this podcast, like, what?
Okay, sorry to offend everyone
right here, right now.
But that's my opinion about it. But I sat there and watched a bunch of that. But volleyball, come on, man.
That's one of the top animes. It's like one of the most watched animes. It's called Haikyuu, and it literally translates to volleyball. The name of the show is just volleyball.
I picked up on that.
Yeah, because that's all it is.
Yeah, I watched like
awesome.
10 minutes of anime volleyball.
Well, I feel like, Joe, you've had so many like nerd things in your house. Even like D&D, right? You all played D&D all the time.
Yeah, whenever growing up, that was where all of my friends would come and we would congregate, and we would have parties of like 10 people playing. All at one time in his basement or in his dining room.
Like for one game or like two different games going?
One game all at once. It was they're crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very hectic.
Yeah, I feel like there has to, whenever I play D&D, like I need a limit of people, because then fight scenes just take forever. So
that's true. Yeah.
It's been fun, though. I raised a house full of nerds, really.
Yeah, and you weren't really a nerd, which is crazy.
No.
Yeah. I think that was why I wanted to have both of y'all on this podcast, because it's like you were the recipient of like everyone around you who's nerd, but also the obsession part of it and stuff like that.
And he's talked me out of multiple obsessions too.
That's the other part of that question. It's like, what can we do to make sure that we don't enter into any kind of addiction or obsession with any fandoms or games?
See, for me, I have to just avoid it. Certain like games, like video games, specifically video games. I cannot play video games that have a scenario. Especially if you can play against a computer. I can't.
What about like story? Like once you beat it kind of thing, or
no? Because he'll 100% it.
So I'm thinking like Last of Us or Red Dead. All those guys.
Like Red Dead Redemption has all those side quests. He would have to do all.
I have to complete it.
Like he would not be able to stop playing the game until he's 100% of the game.
Yeah, when I played Red Dead, I had never played the first one, but I've played the second one, and I played all the way through, and I just couldn't stop. I was like, I have to finish this game.
But then it has online.
I know it has all the side stuff. It has online?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
It's online, and he would be playing online.
Yeah.
He would talk about his outfit and how he got it and how he lassoed someone. I don't know. I've never played it.
So that's where my limit is.
He lassoed someone.
I still have other problems with board games. I know I have to keep myself in check, and especially if my wife is there and she's playing, she reminds me. She has hints to let me know, calm down, back off, stuff like that. She doesn't say that, but she says it with her eyes and sometimes with her foot. But I'm learning. I'm still learning. It's been a lot of years, and I'm getting better at it. Yeah. But there are other things like, fandoms. I'm not locked into those. I don't get drawn in. I can't think of anything that ever pulled me in so far. Now, am I interested? I love hearing people talk about the depth of things, especially when they start talking about characters. When you start talking Marvel things and there's things beyond what I have seen or understood or connected, then you're having that conversation with, say, Mike or Mike Lee, and you guys are having these conversations.
I hope to have him on the pod one day.
So you guys are having a conversation, and as you're speaking, I understand what you're saying because I've seen everything.
So it's just that extra knowledge of all that stuff.
I didn't put all of it together, but you guys are thinking that.
But in order for me to have all that extra knowledge is because I took time, a long time, just to read on everything.
Right, but I don't feel an inclination to go there. And that's good for me.
Man, I think that's how it was during my Doctor Who phase. I say it phase because it was mainly during David Tennant's and Matt Smith. Did you guys watch Doctor Who?
We watched David Tennant, Doctor Who.
I met David Tennant. I have a picture of him.
Whoa, that's cool.
I do.
See, you are special.
That's the one we've watched.
From Dragon Con, he did a photo op, but it was like literally like, we get in line, you show up, hi, nice to meet you, all right, picture, all right, bye. Like, that's literally how it was. So I have the photo, but still, yeah. But during my Doctor Who phase, when I was, a Whovian, my back of my car says my other car is a TARDIS. But during that phase, like, that's literally like, I think everything was Doctor Who related, to the point where I had a stand-up cardboard cutout of the TARDIS in my room. And I had all these different screwdrivers. Like, I've cosplayed as different Doctor Who. I think the most cosplay I've ever done is Doctor Who characters. I've done River Song. I've done Clara. I've done the 11th Doctor. Like, I've done all of them. I've even gone to conventions. I have Halloween, everything. So that's like where, but it was a problem to where it was because of that Doctor Who obsession that I realized like I'm not spending enough time with the Lord. And that was my thing. And that was like really one of the wake up moments for me, because I was like, well, this is like where instead of reading the Word, I'm reading up on the latest fan fiction or whatever it was at the time. This is like probably my freshman year of college. Like it was fan fiction, all the different fan fictions, all the different theories, all the different, because Doctor Who goes, it's one of the longest running shows, and so that was my thing. So, and also has been a repetition all of my life with all the different fandoms. And I would read the fan fiction and dive deeper into online, like community chats or whatever, and especially with like Discord, you can go down a rabbit, hole with all of that, with all there's different channels I'm part of there too. But, so I think it's one of the things with addiction that, especially with fandoms or video games, we have to also watch is, I know for me, it's like, if I'm becoming too obsessed with certain fandom or game, whatever, like I have to like, wait a minute, how long have I spent in the Word this week? How long have I spent in prayer this week? Or did I choose to watch a show instead that I'm obsessed with?
I don't have that self-awareness to be able to do that. I have 3 different people in my life that I actively like have them and told them to keep me accountable on that. They're like, one of them's an actual accountability partner. One of them's my wife, and one of them's just a friend that is around enough that they're able to call me out.
No, like I have my sister and my family will be like, hey, you're talking a lot about this and like spending too much time. I was like, oh, you're right.
I wonder though, I have a question maybe for you two, because you understand fandoms better than I do. So is there a desire it seems like there might be a line there where sometimes it may be a desire to be somebody that's not you, to do something you can't do, and maybe get lost in that? Or is it the excitement of all the things you can do and all the things you can become? They're two different things. One where I'm not so cool with who I am, so I get to just transform myself into something else and be something else, almost like, live action role play, whatever. Yeah. Or is it like, look what I can do? Which for me, it seems like if it's kind of like testing all the things that you can do and stretching yourself, all that seems really good. But if the other side is maybe because you don't like who you are, or that's who your best person is, who you are when you're dressing up.
I think, and actually that's one of the topics also for another episode when we talk about like D&D and stuff like that too, is just escapism. It's just the escaping of the reality of like, you don't really want to deal with like, if things are really hard, you just don't want to deal with it. And so you go into a whole other world essentially, because, especially, if you've been to any kind of conventions, like you are that character, but you also have the meetup of the character you're dressing up as, and you're doing all these photo ops, and you are that character for the day. It's not exactly LARPing, but it's borderline, I feel like too, where you're like, again, that's why I say it's like, it's a double-sided, because you could dress up and still have fun and like, you don't really think anything of it. But there's people who are like, this is your identity. It's putting your identity in all of those things. And I think it's a little bit of both. It's escaping what your reality, but it's also the other half of like, maybe maybe it's one thing, not happy with who you are. And like you wish that you can be that superhero or that character that has maybe X, Y, and Z so much more than you. And you want to be that person. So which is why you cosplay as that person.
And I think the problem is some of those things are unrealistic.
Yeah.
Superheroes have unrealistic powers. So
let's be honest, who hasn't dreamed of
having superpowers?
Yeah, having a superpower.
Okay, so I have.
I'm saying who hasn't? Like,
yeah, I've dreamed of it in my sleep.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
but I've also wished for it in my wake.
Exactly.
Time.
Yeah. Do I wish I could have like the teleportation powers, like right now, to like teleport different places? Yes, 100%.
So do I.
But also fighting crime, or the whole like, even a lot of the girls' perspective has a whole like damsel in distress kind of thing as well. Like I grew up with everything Disney, so like, that was my brain was engraved with all of those different type of like tropes, and so that, which goes into the whole superhero. And so when they see like these, superheroes who are saving, all the people, whatever it is, like, I think even as people, like we want that, which is crazy because we can have that in Jesus. I think that's what we are looking for, which when I've gone to a lot of these conventions and this is my experience. I mean, this may not be the answer for everywhere I go, but there happens to be a lot of folks who are not Christian at all, who are atheists or agnostic in a lot of these situations, in a lot of these places. So, that's not the case always, of course. And there's great ministries who actually go into different Comic-Con conventions and have church at these conventions. Yeah, so I mean, those kind of ministries exist out there, and there's a need. But yeah, it's really interesting.
It seems like the idea that the good guy always wins and that happily ever after are things that we want, but the reality is God always works everything together for good is a whole lot different than the good guy always wins, because there's a lot of bad things that happen to us that God will use. So we still have to have the bad things. Or happily ever after, it looks great on paper and in movies, but in reality, happily ever after doesn't happen for us necessarily until eternity, and so joy ever after comes when we know Christ. But again, there's this thing where people are seeking happy, and happy only works when things are good. I'm going to agree. It's better. Not only can you have it, it's better to have joy in the worst part of your life than it is to only have happiness, because things have to be good for you to be happy. Yeah. So, but you can have joy always. So maybe that's what people are really looking for. Maybe there's a desire to find happy and they're looking for joy. Again, I don't think it's wrong to play games and have a great time and celebrate.
And cosplay and do all the things, yeah.
Have a great time. I think that's great. But as long as we can find ways to identify where we're weak, and identifying ways to keep from doing that. If I have an obsessive personality, and I do, I have to be careful what I'm going to obsess over. Yeah. If I can obsess over the things of God, I'm probably going to be okay. And so sometimes I have to avoid, or I have to have people around me saying, hey, listen, we're going to do this together. We're going to watch you. And so that all the great things that you can bring to the table, bring them. And when they start turning bad, we're going to tell you, and you got to listen. That's kind of where I am.
That was a great way to end the podcast, honestly. Yeah,
okay.
Mic drop. But literally, I dropped the mics here so that we can do it. The podcast. Get it?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, they're right here. Yes, very good.
Sweet. I don't know if y'all do any social media. Is there anywhere that people can find you, or things that you recommend?
Things I recommend? Go play disc golf. It's cool.
It's so random.
Yeah. No, that's my actual... I don't know if that's considered nerdy anymore, but that's my actual...
That is his thing. He plays disc golf.
So much so that I started a shop that makes no money for me. I've only lost money, but I love it.
Great.
I love losing money if it's for something that I love. But it's not really whenever I first started playing, nerdy. Now it's like mainstream, everyone's doing it. At the time whenever I started though, no, I got made fun of for playing disc golf.
Wow. You threw frisbees?
Yeah, they're like frisbee baskets. You're either a hippie or you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Because you can't play other sports.
So I played that for a little while. Believe it or not, I got injured playing disc golf. I don't know how. Yeah, I was trying too hard and
almost tore a tendon.
Yeah,
nice.
It really messed up a bicep. So I don't do anything. I don't have any extra hobbies anymore. All the things I look back that I have tried to do, I always obsessed over them and went too deep, went too far, got too involved. So I don't do anything. I don't have any hobbies like that. My hobbies now at my age are grandkids, my family, my church, my coworkers. I just obsess over those things. And
his hobby is taking me out to lunch.
That's it. I like to take Micah out to eat. Yeah,
that's his hobby. We do that once or twice a week.
It's a good hobby.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you all so much for jumping on this podcast. I'm super excited for everyone to hear all the things that we got to talk about today. But until next week, see y'all then. Hey guys, the episode is actually not over yet. Because I am recording this separately at the end of week 2, this week's nerdy news will be a little bit different from last week's, so stay tuned. Welcome to the segment of the episode where I will read off the top nerdy news of the week. Our top story of the week is actor Jonathan Majors, who is the main villain for Marvel's films and future films and recently co-starred in Creed 3, was unfortunately arrested in New York after a domestic dispute this weekend. The actor was charged with assault and harassment. His next court appearance is scheduled for May 8th. And what does that mean for the future of Marvel? Honestly, we don't have any answers. As new information is released, I'll make sure to keep y'all updated if you haven't already heard it through any current media outlet. Our second story is that the Hobbit Illustrated Edition is going to be incorporating Tolkien's artwork for the very first time, and this is so exciting. It is releasing this fall. It's a brand new version of this Tolkien text. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to have over 50 sketches, drawings, paintings, and maps by J.R.R. Tolkien himself, which is phenomenal. And not to mention, the text comes printed in 2 different colors, so you definitely want to go ahead and pre-order that. It will be releasing on September 19th, 2023. That is this fall. And our last top news of the week is that Netflix fantasy series based on a comic book, as we all have already seen the first season, Sweet Tooth, is coming back and is going to be releasing on April 27th. And that trailer is already out. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And that's all we have for this week's nerdy news. See y'all next week. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Nerds and Jesus podcast. This podcast is produced, edited, created, and hosted by me, Mary Howell. I also run our social media and Patreon page and also did our art. The music is by John Bjork. If you're looking for a way to get connected into the Nerds and Jesus podcast community, you can follow us on social media at Nerds and Jesus. Also join our Facebook group for more bonus content, physical merch, and so much more. You can visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/nerdsandjesus. You can also become a producer level patron as the Supreme Nerd, where you will get your name read at the end of each episode as well. If you would like to continue to support the show, you can share this podcast word of mouth with everyone you know. You can also review and rate our episode wherever you get your podcasts. Anything helps, and thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Until then, praying each of y'all have an amazing week.